All right, I want to explain to you how our minds really work. And this is important if you're going to work with me. We don't have one mind, we actually have three. It's divided into three. And these separate parts of our minds, they do communicate, they do interrelate, but not well. And that's why we develop problems. Also, that's why we can't just sit down and figure things out for ourselves, okay? We have a conscious mind, a subconscious mind, and an unconscious mind. They all have a set of jobs that they do. Your conscious mind, that's what's in the front seat, in the driver's seat, in control during your regular day. So it's where your short-term memory is, like where did I leave my car keys? It's analytical, problem solving. It's where willpower resides, and willpower was never meant for long-term change. Its only function is short-term mental adrenaline toward any goal. So it's a thought. If you can keep that thought right there, well, you'll do great. Good luck. And then there's something very important, the last little bit. It's called your critical factor or your critical facilities. Now what that is, it's kind of like a comparison mechanism. Your subconscious mind, which we'll talk about in a second, that's the real you. And it's just like a computer running on programs. So to understand this critical factor, think of a person, let's say they feel like they're really stupid or dumb, unintelligent. That's the subconscious mind program. Oh, I'm just not very bright. Well, if somebody comes in from the outside world and builds them up for like an hour, boy, you are smart. Really, look at what you've done. Blah, 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 for a whole hour. Well, when they stop talking to that person, they might be like, wow, maybe I'm not so dumb. I feel pretty good now. However, track that person down in a couple of days, and they will have reverted back to that programming, I'm a dummy. So this critical factor hears the information, the suggestions, the ideas coming in from the outside world. If it matches up with your current programming, it's allowed in. If it isn't, it really ultimately doesn't change how you feel about you. So the definition of hypnosis is the bypass of this critical factor in the conscious mind. We're getting around it so we can actually make changes. And this critical factor develops between 5 and 6 years old. That's why you can go to a child and say, hey, oh, you lost a tooth? Well, a tooth fairy will come in, give you $1. Really? Yeah. And then when a child gets to be about 7 years old, they're kind of like, is there really a tooth fairy? Is there really Santa Claus? Because this critical factor is now in place. In a session, I really try very diligently to push away that conscious mind. And I also use something called sleep hypnosis, which totally gets rid of it, which is the most powerful state of mind that anybody can ever be in for change. That's your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind, that's the part I talk to. It's where your long-term memory is. I can take you back to any moment in your life, and you can relive it. All the way back to a couple of months before you were born. So just before you were born, you hit the record button. Everything's been recorded. It's where your habits or patterns of behaviors reside. It's where all of your emotions reside. It tries to protect you against things that are real or imagined. The subconscious mind cannot discern between real or imagined. It doesn't know. It really doesn't know. So it's a wonderful place to work. It's 1,000 or 1,000,000 times more powerful than our dull, stupid conscious mind. Then our unconscious mind, that's the part of our mind that governs our body. So when you eat a sandwich, you don't have to sit down and think, oh, I'm going to digest the sandwich now. You don't have to think about your breathing, your heart rate, all the bodily functions. Now, I work with people with a lot of physical disorders. I've cleared away, working with people, a lot of things. And when I clear those away, either people don't believe that I can do this through this process, or they think it's a miracle. And neither one is actually correct. There's some terms for this: psychosomatic, somatoform, and psychogenetic. And what that means is basically The emotions in your subconscious mind, when they build up, when they magnify, the unconscious mind that governs your body is basically a slave to those feelings. So you get a physical response from those emotions. A good example is crying. If you're really, really sad or grief-stricken, that's an emotion in the subconscious that really built up quite a bit. And when it gets big enough, there's a physical reaction. Your eyes start leaking water. So every emotion that we have that builds up like that, there's actually a physical counterpart. And there's like 53 different chemicals in your brain that, boom, are ejected into your body dependent upon those emotions. And when I work with people, helping them clear away emotional, habitual, and physical disorders, what's really going on is those emotions have built up so big. And the emotion, it's a wide variety. It could be too much anger, too much grief, too much sorrow, But what is that? When you have too much of any of that, what is that? What does that boil down to? Stress. You have too much stress. And when you have too much stress, when those emotions have built to that point, you're going to get a physical response. That happens a lot.